Today you're going to see how I turned Attack on Titan characters into realistic looking 3D models. If you guys enjoy this, leave a like for a part 2 where I create some animations out of these models. Definitely would be fun to create some cinematic Titan stuff. Before we start the tutorial, let me show you the final results. Here's the original images I used as a reference. Here's the realistic recreations using AI. And here's a reveal at how the final 3D models turned out. This one was definitely my least favorite. Turned out looking a lot like Ellen. I probably should have tweaked with the settings a little bit more, made his face less pointy. On the flip side, this one was one of my favorites. Even got the little stub here. So let's get started. First off, Google Images, looking for some images of them looking straight without any distortion. I made a new folder named characters and I saved the pictures here. To make them look realistic, I went over to artbreeder.com. You may have seen this video on the internet. Same exact thing except using pictures. I'm going to take it one step further and make them into 3D models. So I went to create portraits, upload, and I uploaded it in those photos from my characters folder. When it's done processing, you'll be able to see what the AI interprets of it. It might be a little bit distorted. If you get anything too distorted, such as this, you may want to restart with another picture. So once you're at this point, you click crossbreed and you select an image. You can go to the trending tab and try and search for somebody who looks relatively similar to the character that you're trying to create. Since Attack on Titan is so popular, you can search by the name of the character and you're probably going to find some attempts of people trying to do the exact same thing. So the key to making this realistic, you want to put the style all the way to the right so you're getting that realism look, and then you can use this top slider to apply the shaping of the original anime image. So once you have something you like, just go ahead and click save. Then you can click save here and it'll automatically save to Google Drive if you have that set up in your Artbreeder profile. So here's all my images in Google Drive. I saved those new images into another folder so I have all the realistic versions ready to go. Now let's turn them into 3D. To make the realistic images into a 3D face, I use this program called Facegenpro. All you need to do is load in an image, click next. It's going to take you through what you need to select. So we're going to select the eyes. And easy as that, we have a 3D face for our 3D character. Now we need to apply this face onto a 3D character. So before we do anything here, you guys can go into the modified tab. You can change any of the parts of the face if you like. So for example, I can make the nose shorter just by lowering that value. Now the great thing about Facegenpro, it integrates with DAZ, which is a free 3D software for creating characters. So if we click to this file tab, you're going to see that we can export it as a Genesis 8 male or female. So make sure you select whatever tab you're doing. For the parameter name whatever it is you're creating, and then click export. So once you've done that, fire up DAZ Studio. Again, if you guys would like to download that for free, a link will be down below. So once you've done that, all you need to do is go to the Smart Content tab, go over to Figures on the left, and you're going to see this Genesis 8 Starter Essentials. This should be free with DAZ. So we're going to select Figures again here, and we're going to load in either a basic male or female for whatever it is we're trying to create. So I'll load in the basic Genesis 8 male. So using these controls in the top right to navigate, it's really easy to apply our face. All you need to do is scroll and use these tabs here to get to the Shaping tab. You want to go over to Head, and the awesome thing about Facegen is it exports in these sliders. So all you need to do, find whatever you saved. So here it is, Aaron Yeager. Take that and bump that up to 100%. Now you're gonna have the shaping of the face. And you may be wondering, this looks nothing like what I thought it would. Well, that's because we haven't applied the textures. This is only to get the shape of the face. So keep that in mind. If you'd like, you can also do some more shaping within DAZ if you have any sliders here. Always make sure you select this or you're not gonna export anything. Go up to File, Export, and we're gonna export as an FBX. So we'll name this. So copy whatever I have marked down here, FBX 2013, and click accept. All right, so easy as that. Now what we need to do is bring that 3D model into any 3D software of our choice. So I'm gonna use Cinema 4D with the Octane plugin, but you guys could of course use Blender, which is again free. So to set it up in Cinema 4D, we go up to File, Merge Objects, and we just load in the FBX that we just saved from DAZ. I wanted to use the built-in physical Octane renderer. I could just start loading in my textures in here, but I'm gonna use the Octane plugin, which is just a better render engine. So I'm gonna click Octane, Live Viewer window, and let's snap this onto here and let's fire it up so we can see the render. None of the textures are loaded. I'm gonna select all the textures, go to materials and convert them. And now if you'd like, you can right click down here and just remove unused materials. So I'm gonna start with the face. double click in there. In our diffuse, click on the image texture, click the three dots, and we're going to navigate to where we save those textures from Facegen. So to find that, wherever you save your DAZ assets folder, it should be up at the top if you sort by date modified. Double click into there. We're going to go to runtime, textures, Facegen, Genesis 8 male, and we're going to find the folder where we saved it. So mine was Aaron tutorial, and here's all the textures we saved from Facegen. So let's load in the face. We'll click no here, and let's set everything else up. So we'll go to torso. We don't have to worry about the teeth. We haven't added any mocap to the face, but in a part 2, I might add some where I'm fully animating them. And let's set up the eyes. So we're going to go ahead and load in our eyes, and then we're going to go ahead and load in our eyelashes. So for the eyelashes, what you want to do is hide the diffuse, so just uncheck it. We're going to go to opacity. Let's click this arrow and add a Cinema 4D Octane image texture. We can click the 3 dots, and we're going to load in just a normal Daz eyelash texture. So let's click back to textures. We're going to go to this Daz folder, not Daz 3D, but Daz, characters, Genesis 8, male base, and here's the eyelashes. So you can just use those, borrow those. So now we have some eyelashes set up, and you're going to see how this eye is weirdly distorted. To fix that, in the top right in our objects, we'll open that up. You'll see we have the eyelash shape and our actual male shape. So this is the mesh. To not be distracted by all these crazy joints, we can just double click this top dot on a hip and on eyelashes just to hide that on the left. Now we're going to select the male shape, and we're going to switch over to this polygon mode. So if we select that, now you can see all the different polygons in the mesh. And this is very important for this tutorial. So make sure you're always switching back and forth from model mode to polygon mode. So this white sphere here is actually just for the eye moisture. So you can double click on that and just delete it. And you'll see how that eye goes back to normal. And let's do that for the other side as well. For this ring here of the eye moisture, what I did is just loaded that in, and I choose a sort of eye looking color just to blend that in. So now we need the hair, the clothes, etc. So the long way to do this would be to use Daz, use their marketplace, find hair that matches his style. As for the clothes, I'd recommend using something like Marvelous Designer to design the clothes from scratch. But because this is such a complex set of clothes and different props for their uniforms, I'm going to go to my content browser and I'm going to load in some of these Attack on Titan video game ported 3D models. So shout out to Troy87. I'm going to leave a link below to his YouTube channel if you want to check it out. He's the one that gave me these 3D models for free. We'll load in the Eren Yeager video game model, and we're just going to replace the faces. So to replace the faces, let's go back to our objects. I'm going to select this Genesis 8 male joint that has all of our new realistic versions, and I'm going to click Alt-G to put it in a null. We'll name that Aaron HD. Now for the video game version, let's open that up, and we're going to go ahead and first delete the face. We're also going to delete the skeleton off of here. Just find eyebrows and teeth, delete that, and we'll just delete the eyes. So that's what we want, just the hair and the clothing, and we're going to drag in our face. So this little guy is too small. Let's go ahead and scale him up. So select the null group that we created before, go to coordinates, and we're going to go ahead and make those 4 for everything, and it should match up pretty well. So now we just need to keep this head and delete the body. So I'll scroll this over here so I can have a nice clean work area. We're going to switch back to our polygon mode. Make sure you open up this null, open up the joints, and make sure you're selecting your polygon mesh. I'll select the eyelash shape as well, so holding control. And now I'm going to grab my selection tool, hold down shift, and just start selecting the face. We also want to get a good amount of the neck here, so I'll kind of give it a little bit of this. Make sure you're holding down Alt and rotating, and you want to get all of these polygons so that whenever we break it away from the mesh, there's nothing missing. All right, so that's looking pretty good. Once you've selected the top part of the head, we're going to right click on it and we're going to click split. So I'm going to select the parts of the new head, shift those over. This one looks good. So with those objects selected, I'll click Alt-G just to put them in a null, and I'll move that null outside of all of this. And let's name that Aaron Face HD. We don't need the full body version now, so you can just double click to hide it in the render or delete it. And now let's take that Aaron Face HD, and we're gonna go ahead and move that right over into the body and the hair. And easy as that, we've now made our HD selection. If you have any of these polygons poking through, just switch to polygon mode again, select the actual model, and you can get rid of that easily. So that's the main way to get your character set up. I'm also going to show you how to animate them using Mixamo. We'll talk about creating that beginning scene I made. But first, before that, let's talk about a little bit of customization before I show you the time lapse for creating all the other characters. So if you want to customize any of the textures, for example, adjusting the skin tone or adding any other details, like for example, if I change the face, I can add this edited version. You'll see now he has these little Titan marks on his face. You can do that easily just by using Photoshop. So if I double click in here, click on the image texture for the face, this is the file location for the face. You can drag that directly into Photoshop, and I just use Google Images to cut away some of the parts of the Titan marks and place them on his face. I then change the blending mode to multiply, and I use a little bit of my soft eraser just to blend that all together. Once you've done that, you can pop back into your 3D software and then just load in the new edited version of your face. So with all the other characters, I repeated the exact same steps. Here's a little time lapse of me setting them all up. And that's really about it. That's how I turned these Attack on Titan characters into realistic versions of themselves. So I'm going to give you guys a little bonus here and show you how you can animate these. You'll see they're already in a T-pose, so they're ready for animation, as well as how I set up that composition that you guys saw at the beginning. If you guys would like to see me create some more realistic animations, as well as creating some crazy Titan animations using these 3D models, leave a like on the video. So now let me show you how I animated these characters. First, I went into that project file where I had the Eren 3D model. I didn't connect any of the objects. I left it how it was and I exported it as an FBX. Next, I brought that FBX into Mixamo, a free software from Adobe. If you have an Adobe Creative Cloud subscription, you can sign in that way. Once I uploaded my model, I just selected the joints, and then I was able to add any of that free motion capture onto the model. So I made some adjustments there, exported that out, and imported that back into Cinema 4D. Now I have my T-pose character in the animation that I selected. To reload the textures onto your new animated model, all you need to do is import it next to your T-pose. Then you can actually select all of the different textures and tags that are on your original T-pose model and just drag those textures and tags onto the corresponding model in your animation. Super easy. So next what I did was I added in the walls. So I found this free 3D model on the internet, this architectural version of the outside area of the walls. I imported that in, and I wanted to add a little custom touch to the wall. So what I did was I cut away a chunk of it in the middle to show the area where the armored titan breaks through. So to do that, what I did was I went to polygon mode again. I selected the polygons that I wanted to slice up. I right clicked to select the knife tool, and I just started adding a bunch of slices. Then I used my selection tool to delete away parts of that until I had a hole in the wall. To texture that, I went to Quixel.com to get some realistic textures. I found this 4K brick texture. I brought that back into Cinema 4D, set all the texture maps up properly, and I added that to my wall. So now that I've done that, let's go ahead and create the city. I added in a plane and I shaped it to be the size of the inside of the wall. Now I need to add some buildings onto that. So for the buildings, I used two Kitbash models. Kitbash has some of the best city models. I used their Aristocrat pack as well as their Fairy Tale pack. So I imported those models in, loaded in the textures for them that comes included with the pack, and then I imported them back into my main comp. Now to turn these couple of buildings into a city, what I did was I went to objects and I added in an octane scatter. This is pretty much the Cinema 4D version of a cloner. I made sure that my normal align was at 0, and then I changed around some of the settings to get the city shape that I wanted. If you guys want a full tutorial on how to do something like that, the iDesign YouTube channel has a really great one. I'll leave a link below. Now let's start setting up our scene and animating. So for the lighting, all I did was add in an octane sky. You can rotate that to change where the sun is hitting your scene, so you can change around your shadows, reflections, etc. In terms of the actual sky, what I did was I went to hdrhaven.com and I found this nice rural sky. I downloaded that HDRI image, and then again I went to objects and I added in an HDRI environment. In that HDRI environment, I put in an image texture and I loaded the HDRI image. You can again rotate that HDRI image to place the sky how you'd like it. So next, I set up my cameras. If you click on the Octane camera tag, you can set up autofocus in the thin lens section. You can also turn on camera imager and post-processing to add any bit of glow. So I added a bit of keyframes to make the Octane camera go from the bottom to the top and created that simple little panning animation. Our autofocus was all set up and our scene is all ready to render. So quickly, my render settings here, I put my lighting on path tracing. It's always gonna look better as path tracing. If you guys are creating animation, always have low samples. You don't wanna have something like 1,000, 1,500 samples for an animation because it's gonna take forever to export. So the way to combat low samples is you go up to your setting here in Octane, make sure you're on your Octane renderer, and you enable this Use Denoise Beauty Pass. That way you can have low samples, and the Denoiser Beauty Pass is still gonna make everything look smooth and crisp. So that's the key to quick animation. Other little settings, I bumped the depth for my diffuse specular and scatter down, put my caustic blur on something like 0.45, GI clamp at 8. I turned on static noise as well as adaptive sampling, and that's pretty much it. I also went to camera imager, denoiser, and I enabled denoising through there. So in output, again, 1920 by 1080, select the amount of frames you want to render and save. You create a folder wherever you would like to render out all the different frames of this. So once your export is complete, I hop back into After Effects, navigated to that folder where I exported all the frames for my animation, and I imported that in as a comp. For some post effects, I used a dynamic link so I could add some color grade in Adobe Premiere. I slapped a LUT on there, I added a little bit of contrast and highlights. I also added some glow, and then I duplicated the layer and added some blurring around the edges, as well as some chromatic displacement just to give it that HD anime look. And that's about it, guys. If you did enjoy, please leave a like, comment if you'd like to see me do any other cartoon, anime, whatever. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for supporting, and I'll see you guys in the next one.